Hello, everybody. You wouldn't know it, but this is actually attempt number 2. I accidentally unplugged my computer about 2 minutes into the first attempt because I was going to show you my Christmas tree. So now that I've adjusted things, boom, we have put nothing on it except those candy canes yet. But that's what we've been up to today. Hello, everyone. My name is Adam S. I am League Dad, GM of the Copperheads, all around random semi-drunken person. For the 3 of you who don't know me yet, hi, how's it going? I want to wish everybody a happy holiday. For those of you who celebrate, and for those of you who don't, good luck going out and doing anything or accomplishing any of your errands or chores. That's just not happening. I was in a grocery store today that was just 150,000 people. That's a low estimate. Legitimately 150,000 people. I think we almost became our own state. It was crazy. Anyway, we are dead smack in the middle of the end of the off season. None of those descriptions make sense together, but fuck it. That's the kind of podcast we run. NSFL draft has happened. DSFL draft has happened. I got drafted in the DSFL second time. Very happy with that. As Dick Wizardry is going to ride off into the sunset and be replaced by Awkward Sex Joke, which might be my favorite character name I've come up with. And a little bit later in the evening than I usually do these, just due to being off today and being able to get a lot of other stuff done. So the family's around, as you can see. Mrs. S is back there painting, as she likes to do. I did post pictures of Soup in general chat, so go find those, since Soup is now the thing that defines our entire legacy here. So I'm going to jump right into questions, because, you guys know how I do. I'm going to do that so that I don't accidentally say some shit the question's handled, and then I gotta give you that, annoyed look that I already answered this, and yada yada yada. And yes, as promised, I have been drinking. This is Dr. Pepper and Fireball right here, which is a good life decision for some people. And in the meantime, there was something else I was going to add, but I don't know what it was. Maybe it was in the first one. If I knew video editing, I'd just put them together and it would be an entertaining the video suddenly cuts out thing, but y'all know I don't know that shit yet. Working on it though. So let's just jump into questions. And no malware bites. I don't want to talk to you right now. Alright, here we go. Upper Net with the first set of questions, my buddy Net. Thoughts on the recent drama with Chicago? We're coming in hot today, aren't we? Okay. Man. So, now, granted, let's be fair to Ned. He posted this at midnight my time. So in between the time he posted this and now, Chicago has actually hired the GM that everyone who has experience thought they should hire. So that's a great thing. So that's actually a really, really positive step for those of you who somehow missed the announcement. It's just Barry is the new co-GM in Chicago. His former player is, of course, Trey Willie, who will be in the Hall of Fame at some point as soon as people aren't stupid. Frequent player in Werewolf, league veteran, guy who's been around, guy who knows stuff. He's also on the older side, which will help balance out some of the younger stuff. He's pretty open about, he's older. He's not as old as me, obviously, but teenage kid, all that fun stuff. So he's someone who is definitely uniquely suited personality-wise to kind of come in and create a counterbalance to what's been going on in Chicago. I think it's an amazing signing. I will say that I, in particular, as soon as he even indicated he might be interested, kept sort of pushing the issue. I wasn't the only one, but so I'm glad to see that turned out. I think that's a massive step forward for Chicago. And I think it's the kind of thing where you kind of have to judge them from here forward. You can't really judge the past. I was talking to Valor yesterday, and I informed him of a thing we won't go into, and it's irrelevant now, but just kind of like none of this stuff is his fault. None of this stuff was his doing. He's kind of got stuck with the baggage, and he's got to move forward. Bringing someone in like Barry to help him out is a massively positive first step. So that's what I think of the drama. It sort of feels like I didn't answer your question because I went completely the opposite. But, I'm your GM and I can do that. Next question, which teams had the best draft, DSFL and NSFL? You say that because you know I don't really pay attention to the drafts as much. I didn't even know who was getting drafted in the NSFL draft until I was on the actual draft cast itself because I didn't pay attention because we traded away all our picks. I knew one pick ahead of time. I think the NSFL draft, you had 5 teams, I think, only in the first round. I think New Orleans obviously killed it. Orange County started from a position of strength and gained more strength. I think you had, in what was a relatively small draft, but pretty dense with talent. Usually there's a very steep drop off. But this one, even though you didn't have as many actives in the draft, you could go pretty deep into what there were and still find really serious quality. So I'm not going to say that's what you want in the draft, but if you're going to have a small draft, that's what you want in the draft. I think New Orleans and Orange County obviously did the best, and I think it was a comment I made sort of towards the end of the draft cast itself that one of the winners of the draft was sort of those mid-level teams in the NSFC because most of the massive improvement happened in the other conference. So DSFL, I want to say the Tampa Bay. Oh, I'm sorry, not Tampa Bay. Sorry. The Myrtle Beach Buccaneers had the best draft for one reason and one reason alone. They picked me. That's the best draft right there. The last one was for the drinking game. I think Minnesota had a great draft, especially coming out of, they relocated, they changed branding, they got a lot of flack. People were literally like sort of coming back from the dead to talk about how they didn't like that relocation happened. Like you get to have an opinion if you haven't done anything in the league in 6 months about somebody relocating. You can go ahead and quote me on that. I think Minnesota did great. They managed a bunch of picks. They sort of started out well. You can't really say they're starting out, but it did. And to be honest, I think entirely accidentally, all those people who were very unhappy at the switch over from San Antonio to Minnesota sort of helped create this clear delineation between the two. So what Minnesota does now is going to be thought of as Minnesota, not as, San Antonio that moved, which a lot of relocating kind of falls under that problem a lot of times. People think about the old place too much. And I think there was such a strong reaction that I think Minnesota is going to sort of avoid some of that. So I think even beyond just the draft itself, the fact that they, however much you like or dislike it, they definitely hit the echelon you want in terms of immediate understanding that it's a different identity. So shout out to the Minnesota Grey Ducks, or as I like to call them, the Minnesota Frozen Penises. Look at their logo and tell me I'm wrong. You can't. Net, my dude, thank you for your questions. One of my favorite people in the league who just recently claimed that he's always nice, although I don't know that everybody believes that. Nobody's always nice, except Mr. Rogers. He's not really here. Let me see who's next on the questions. Frostbite, my new GM in the DSFL. Hey, how do you feel on falling to MB? Asking for a friend. All right, so hey, look, it's Baby S. She's not a baby anymore, actually. It's Sammy there in the background on her phone. Hi, Sam. Hi. You can say hi. Yeah. Daddy showed me a video for my fake football friends. Say hi.
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 Tell them I'm not gonna make a player.
He's not making a poopy.
All right.
Cause there's a.
And she's gonna steal the camera. Because everybody in this family's a ham. All right. I'm gonna do my video now. Have fun.
Daddy just went like this.
It's good to get immediately reported on by someone who's sitting 6 feet away.
Is it right next to you, Dad?
Well, I'm gonna be talking a lot, baby. Okay. Well, I'm gonna be recording, so your video and your sound doesn't really work with what I'm doing. So it's better if you watch your video over at the table. I love you.
I love you.
Poopy.
Poopy.
Falling to Myrtle Beach, asking for a friend. Gee, what friend? Go GM. So this kind of dovetails into something I wanted to talk a little bit about. I'm laughing because it feels like I'm about to attack some people. So one thing that kind of got me during this process, and I know it was quick, but the DSFL GMs. This little segment is for all of you, all the DSFL GMs and co-GMs, because you are the next generation of NSFL GMs. Almost certainly. Most of the time we pull from those ranks. So one of the things I noted about my personal draft experience, and then something I heard from others who were, let's say, bigger names in the league, is that there's a clear pattern of DSFL GMs not necessarily contacting or making a point to say hi or we're interested in you, things like that. And the logic behind that is usually, this is a known entity, I don't necessarily have to talk to them. Because people know who I am, they know who the other people in the conversation are. I'm not going to name any names because it's a private conversation. But one of the things you'll find is a really good habit to get in. Talk to everybody whenever you can. Because you never know. Especially at the next level. Even if you have zero interest in a draft pick or a free agent right now, there could come a time down the line where your roster and them align up. You want to kind of create those relationships and foster those relationships whenever you can. And this works for bigger names too. People that you know are going to be here 2 generations, 3 generations, 4 generations of players down the line. Even if your little, hey, we might pick you up. How you feeling about this? Even if that doesn't bear fruit right now, it could be in 4, 5, 10 seasons. And it's important to kind of think ahead that way, especially if you want to become NSFL GMs down the line. So that's food for thought for all the DSFL GMs. And I guess everybody else to a lesser degree. But I do really enjoy that I got to get drafted to Myrtle Beach because I fucking love making pirate jokes. They're the best. So, yar, I be a pirate now. Pretty happy about it. And I went in the top 10, which is always nice. Who doesn't love going in the top 10? Come on, let's be honest here. Who doesn't love going in the top 10? Especially since I know I'm not going in the top 10 at the next level. I'm going at like whatever second round draft pick we happen to own at that point. Quick reminder to NSFL GMs, we own the Chicago second round pick and it is on the block, and I've already heard from several GMs and I would like to hear from more if you have offers. It will probably be a number 11 or number 12 pick in a draft class. It's going to be pretty good, so keep that in mind and get a hold of me. You know where to find me, and I'm usually on, except when I'm sleeping. Thank you, Frostbite, for your question. Moody, hey, buddy. Why is Dick retiring so young? That is an excellent question, actually. Because, let's see, Dick was a season 12 player. It's season 19 now. He's going to play out season 19. So that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's really only 8 seasons, yeah. So honestly, it was just a combination of things. As Dick just hit regression this season, so we're already sort of on the downswing, and I could have definitely fought regression for 2 or 3 more seasons, but given the situation we were in, with the draft and the way it looked, and the fact that we have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds in the next draft, we were loaded on picks. I thought this was kind of the perfect time to sort of make the jump now, so that way I'm on the way up during our window for the next 5-6 seasons. So I did my usual. I double checked with Joe, make sure I'm not missing any angles here. He's on board. In fact, he was like, "I'm pretty sure you were about to do this." So that's kind of why Dick was retiring so young. And on top of that, there is always the elephant in the room, the sort of mid-career fuckery that happened that kind of messed with Dick's career arc. I would, on a personal level, like to make a Hall of Fame player at some point. And my first player, Charlie Law, was deemed not good enough for the Hall of Fame by people who were trying to be too strict, even though he's still top 10 in touchdowns after retiring so long ago. And so you have Dick, where I went with the running back, and then that whole shenanigans happened back in like May in terms of real times. And so I ended up flipping to DT to help the team, and it's nothing worked out for that. So I definitely still want to create a Hall of Fame player. That's something that I don't have on my resume yet, which I would really, really like. And I think coming back as a defensive end with awkward sex joke, and being able to start from the beginning and accumulate stats and do all those things and kind of help the team out in a sort of the thinnest position in the league as well it was a good decision, I think. And I think doing it now, so that I'm like really hitting my prime right in the middle of when our current trajectory is at its peak, is sort of the best timing. So sort of you combine all those things with the draft picks and with draft class looks and the timing and my own career aspirations, and then you throw it all in the ball, and boom, that's why Dick was retired so young. So there you go. What are your goals for Awkward? And I still somehow managed to answer a question before it was asked. I want to make a Hall of Fame player. And there you go. The D-line tends to get a little bit less love because until recently, I feel like only sacks sort of counted. People didn't really give things like tackles for loss its proper place in the sim, or its proper place in terms of importance. There was that article recently that sort of opened people's eyes and made them realize that every time somebody gets a tackle for loss, that's literally 5, 6 something yards that just the offense didn't get. So people are kind of like looking at it with new eyes, which is good because that also ties into the whole awards committee thing, etc., etc. So my goal for Awkward is to come in hard. I'm only staying down my necessary season of the DSFL, and then I'm going to town with it. So I should be on the roster in season 20. And then from there, it's just go nuts and win some rings as well. Obviously, that's always a general goal. I plan to win some rings here. That's why I pay you, assholes. And for those of you who don't understand the joke, it's fine. Why was this year the Copperhead's best draft? I love you, Moody. Because I didn't have to do anything. That's always the best when you don't actually have to do anything. I have to do a lot next year, but any draft where you can basically like just take it off almost is the best. As much as I missed certain things like scouting, and we didn't have a future snakes room for season 19, which we will for season 20. Stuff like that I didn't get to do, and I did miss it, but it was also nice to just kind of, let's see what happens. Let's make random comments in the draft thread and GM chat, even though we're not really involved. That's nice. That's sort of the best. But in a more serious way, this was the best draft because it um, it sort of proved the previous drafts. Because, the previous drafts we've definitely gotten some flack because we didn't do things exactly the way somebody else decided. And, it's worth mentioning, not quite a humble brag here, but it's worth mentioning that the first couple of seasons we kept getting compared to our expansion mate in Chicago and how they were doing this and that and this, and it was much more aesthetically pleasing compared to what we were doing, and now look at where the two franchises are. So, pretty much won expansion, right? Like, is there an argument there? I won expansion. But from that point and going forward, we did well enough in our drafting that we were able to basically take a draft off. Like any GM will tell you that if you put yourself in a position where you can basically take a draft off, you won. You're winning. So if there's a reason why this year was our best draft, it was the fact that we literally didn't have the space to add people. It's amazing. It's an amazing testament to not just how well we've drafted, because we've gotten lucky more than a few times. It's you guys on the team, and how great you guys are, how active and how hard you guys work to make the team better, and how much fun we're having as a team as well. These are all wins that I don't want to turn this into toot Austin's own horn, but toot toot a little bit. Thank you, Moody, for your questions. You are my favorite running back, in the whole league. I'm very comfortable saying that. Just because you're my running back. Next question, Bex. Bex, who is the best member of HO and why is it Echo? Or Eco, I guess. I assume Eco because there's no H. Eco reads this question and is like, I don't know. Here's why I love Eco. Eco and I just had a conversation yesterday, and it was about something we vastly disagreed on. And we started the conversation vastly disagreeing, and we ended the conversation vastly disagreeing. We can't even see each other's points of view, essentially, because he's wrong. But he made the effort. And he didn't just oh, why don't you like this? It was, he made the effort, and he heard my responses, and he responded, and he asked more questions, and he really wanted to know. And that is absolutely great. Because one of my biggest criticisms of HO that I make frequently and all the time, and I know it annoys them, but whatever, somebody's got to, is that there's an element of echo chamber, with no pun intended to Eco's name. There's an element of echo chamber where somebody in HO can be like, oh, yada yada yada, and I'm right, and other people will go, yeah, you're right, and then they don't step outside of their own little bubble to figure out if they're actually right, and then something happens, and then people don't like it, and then it's like, oh my god, why did this happen? Why don't people like it? Oh my god. And Eco broke that pattern, which is awesome. Anybody, anywhere, who takes the time to try to figure out why they might be wrong, even if they end that conversation going, I still think I'm right, the fact that they try to take the time to figure out why they might be wrong, that is a person who's going to succeed, not just here in this context, that is a person who's going to succeed in life. Because that is a person who's going to figure out their flaws and their weaknesses and where they made bad decisions and why they made bad decisions faster than anyone else. So Eco is 100% one of my two favorite people in HO, and I'm not going to say who the other one is just because it makes for entertaining speculation. But shoutouts and credit to Eco for being awesome. Let's see. How excited are you to be a Buccaneer this season? I be very excited, because I can do things like this. That's really not how pirates talked, by the way, for the record. I learned that recently. That all stems from one guy who played Long John Silver in the 50s, and he took a lot of stuff from like Welsh, sort of Western England sort of area. I'm sorry, Raven, if I'm getting the exact geography wrong. He took a lot of like the talking and the cadences and some of the phrases like "yar" from people in his area, and that probably didn't fit pirates who don't even fit that description. But I get to do that, and that's what pirates sound like right now. But I'm thinking about writing about some stuff, some pirates now, because the more I learn, the more I'm like, there's some interesting ground that hasn't been covered, and finding the right sort of angle and characters and possible stories would be very cool. To kind of do something that's maybe a little more historically accurate. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's on the docket. It's something that's brewing in the back of my head in terms of writing. But in the meantime, you know, the stereotypical cliche is great, and I can do the voice, and I love doing pirate jokes, so I'm pretty excited. And also, looking over the Buccaneer roster, it looks like we're gonna have a pretty awesome defense, and I love the new branding and all that. So pretty excited to see what happens. Plus, and this is so important. Those of you who aren't GMs may not know this, but this is so important. There are 4 DSFL teams with human players, and when you have a fairly active draft class, scouting them all isn't always the easiest thing. So being in one of the 4 rooms and sort of getting to sort of scout as the season goes on, it's a quarter of the work down. Who doesn't love that? We go. Would you rather have a unicorn as a pet or be a unicorn? Probably as a pet. Probably as a pet. Yeah. Because I want to be me. But if I have a unicorn as a pet, that sounds awesome. I don't know where the fuck I'm going to put it. Definitely probably can't fit a unicorn in my apartment. But still, it's a unicorn. It's a pet. It sounds pretty awesome. Did I write it to work and stuff? No. If I have a unicorn as a pet, I definitely don't work. Definitely unicorn as a pet, though. I don't want to actually be a unicorn. I really want to be a unicorn. I'm me. I am pretty okay with me. If you had to pick a GM other than your current co, so other than Joe, and a member of HO to write out a zombie apocalypse, okay, I gotta read the question. This has got awesome. So I have to pick a different GM. I can't pick Joe, and I gotta pick a member of HO to write out a zombie apocalypse with. So, a GM and a member of HO to live out a zombie apocalypse with. Alright, I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna refresh my drink while you look at the back of my wife's head. I surprised you. I kissed your head. Uh-oh. No.
We don't have enough candy canes to hang up.
We don't have enough candy canes.
Yeah.
I feel like you have ulterior motives here.
Yeah, I think we have enough candy canes.
We probably have enough candy canes.
I'll count them.
Okay, you count the candy canes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, there's some over here. Good.
9, 10, 11, 12.
We don't have enough candy canes.
All right. I'm taking a vacation.
You think I'm wow, it's fine.
We have 70.
70?
We have
That's
70?
a lot.
I feel like that's enough
That's
candy
not
canes.
enough.
Not? We need to buy more?
I think you just like candy canes.
17 is
You know,
not
there's
more.
two candy canes.
Two candy canes.
And there's some fake candy canes on the floor that we haven't hung up yet because we haven't done all the decorating yet.
I just ate them.
That's why I missed.
We don't have enough candy canes, I guess. So that's the update from the S household. Yes, it's coffee phlegmy time of year. It's beginning to look a lot like everywhere you go. Okay, so Zombie Apocalypse, member of HO, and a GM other than Joe. Because yes, we're 100% have picked Joe. Because we're probably just going to go to the cold. Because I don't think zombies like the cold. Probably because that was in World War Z. Which, by the way, if you've never read the book World War Z, awesome read. Go pick it up. It's one of the best, I feel like, most realistic sort of zombie reads. In terms that it's, just go pick it up. It's entertaining. I enjoyed it. It's not the fucking movie with Brad Pitt that should have been called anything but World War Z. Because fuck that. It was a fine zombie movie. I didn't like I didn't like hate the movie itself. I just hated that it was called World War Z. Because World War Z is a very good book. Written by Max Brooks, son of Mel Brooks.
Please open these, please. It's almost like
What are you
220.
What are you opening? And why do you run around like Enzo Amore? Look, see, she's never been to Jersey, but she still has the Jersey run. It's in her jeans.
I should use my teeth.
Huh. Okay, so my member of HO is going to be Manic. I feel like Manic's a survivor. Manic would be like, he'd have some plans. We'd be good. A GM other than myself. Speculadora. Can't say your name when I've been drinking. Probably not when I'm sober either. The former great poopy faced tomato nose, because if nothing else, he doesn't survive, and then we put him out of his misery, which I know he'd enjoy. Feels like a solid answer. I'm trying to think like who would be good cannon fodder. Look, you don't need to outrun the zombies, you just need to outrun the person the zombies can outrun. And then they eat that person and you survive. Like, just saying. Bex, thank you for your questions. Did I really answer who the best HO member is, or did I just talk about Eco for like 3 minutes? I really did? Okay. I really just talked about Eco for 3 I got some editorial opinions back here. Find you someone who calls you on your bullshit, by the way. That's life advice. My favorite member of HO is nobody. I will tell you my favorite HO comment. I'm going back to the same question. It doesn't fucking matter. It's my show. I just had this conversation with Manic the other day where I was like, why does it feel like every time I need to yell at somebody in the league, they somehow end up under your jurisdiction, and so you end up taking the shit for it? And it was just like, he kind of goes in and he tries to put out fires, I think, in areas, and it sort of ends up like, when I'm going to sort of go on a rampage and be like, hey, you know, X thing wasn't done, my team was affected, whatever it happens to be, he ends up being the point guy. So it always, and on top of that, we have different views, and so we don't always agree on a lot of things in the league. So it always feels like we're bumping heads all the time, even though it's usually somebody else. Even like recently, I didn't make a point of it, but I'm sure he was thinking of it because I was. There was like an anonymous rule proposal and he was kind of the one that was just like sort of addressing. Okay, here it is. Here's what the anonymous proposal was, and I took issue with it because it contained some very inaccurate information, and he was just sort of the messenger because he always seems to be in that role where he's just like kind of in between. So I'm gonna call him the best member of HO because why the hell not? I'll give the guy some credit for once. Cheers. Plus he's bald like me, which, you know, bald brotherhood, we gotta stick together. If you understand the reference, shout out. Thank you, Bex, for your questions and generally for, you know, just being around and being awesome. Valor, you better not be asking me questions I've seen you ask somebody else. Oh, I told you about this last week. If you were to go into an apocalypse, okay, great start. First of all, great start. Pick one GM not named Joe to save or kill. I like how everyone immediately knows to take Joe out of the equation, because of course I'm going to pick Joe. Joe's my dude. To save or kill. Like, I can only pick one, and I'm just deciding what their fate is. I kind of feel like I did that in the last question. Just gonna casually look at GM chat here. Look over some names. I don't know, man. I'll save me. You didn't say I couldn't save me. You just said I couldn't save Joe. Ha ha! Loophole, bitches. All right.
Just 2 more were missing.
Yeah.
Oh, my child has scissors. Always an exciting time in a parent's life.
But I love cutting trees.
You love cutting trees with scissors? Those are safety scissors, too. I don't know how many trees you can cut with those.
Maybe the tree will be dead if it
Well, that's a fake tree anyway.
I don't want you to cut the tree.
Oh, please don't cut the tree. This is not an invitation to cut the tree.
everything. I love cutting my shirts.
No,
Ooh,
please
let's
don't.
not cut your shirts. No.
You can cut some papers, but not your clothes. You need to be able to wear that. I tell you what, when you've grown out of it, then you.
There you go. Did you hear that, Sam? When you grow out of the shirt, you can't wear it anymore because it's too small. Then you can cut it.
Right now, it's still big enough.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saving myself. I'm loophole abusing and saving myself. Chicago had a massive draft class. And factoring the hiring of Barry, how do you see Chicago in a couple of seasons? First of all, I think the future is brighter because you say things like a couple of seasons. Because next season, y'all are going to be hot, flaming garbage, which I do appreciate since I own your draft picks. But in a couple of seasons, I can definitely see you rebounding and getting going. This is the kind of set of moves you needed to make, and you're making them. And the fact that so much of your focus is on how can I fix other people's shitty decisions that I can't control, that's a good thing. I think one of the things that went sort of under the radar is that Blue Line's receiver actually has more TPE than Sweet James Jones does. Now, he took sort of the focus of the offseason because he originally saw the whole situation that was going on and kind of had his reaction. But the fact that you have that guy and then you came in and you eventually signed to that guy and were like, hey, we're moving forward, that's a great step. I kind of feel like I'm answering your next question too, so I'm gonna just pause and let people know what your next question was. How's my GM reign going? Which is great, by the way. I did this off screen. Like, no. You guys have seen me talk with my hands fucking enough. You know what's going on. I think your GM reign is going really well so far. You've made good decisions. You've made steps in the right direction. So going back to what I was saying, you're this guy who sort of took the focus of your entire offseason, and then you had drafted this other guy who actually has more TPE than he does, slightly. So what you got is two young receivers who are going to grow together, and that's huge. And you brought on an experienced co-GM, that's huge, and you're sort of, the vibe and the culture of Chicago is different than it was 5 days ago, which is as much as you can possibly hope for under the circumstances and under the time. So there you go. I think you're doing a great job so far, and just keep it up and just be yourself, but also be smart. And that's really what it is going to come down to really make the team not be hot garbage for as long or make the team be hot garbage for as short a time as possible, because you couldn't escape that was going to happen, so you can only kind of recover from what was going on and move forward, and you're doing that. So kudos to you, and thank you for not asking me the same questions you asked Joe again. Not that I'm throwing shade, but I'm throwing shade because that's what I do. I throw shade like a pitcher. On top of that, those are the questions for the day. Let me go ahead and let people know that I have finished with the questions. Quest Beyond's finished. I'm going to phonetically write that down, and no one will understand unless they were listening. There you go. Other than that, we are right about in preseason, which is awesome. We're about to get to that point where stuff starts really happening again for the next season, and it's definitely one of the most wide open seasons we've had in a long time. No one knows what's going to happen in either conference, really, beyond the top team. You could have all sorts of combinations. And as everybody knows, once you get to the playoffs, strange things happen. You could be the top team all year, and then as soon as you get to the playoffs, so, shout out to Yellowknife for disappointing more than people's parents, I guess. I don't know where I was going for the punchline. Lots of things could happen. You could literally have 9 out of 10 teams in the playoffs this year. But obviously there's only 6 spots. So who knows? It's going to be, I think, a crazy season. You got the best mix of quarterbacks we've had in a while in terms of at their peak and still rising. And we've got talent all over the board. We've got talent incoming with this next draft class that looks amazing. I've heard the following draft class might be an NFL draft class, but I don't know how true that is, because I believe the deal was we got to go twice a year for them. And slightly early for us to have the third one. But we'll see. It was popular the first couple of times. It's clearly worked over well, so things could be shifting on that front. Either way, the league is still looking pretty damn good. Even coming through off season, we've got a very active league. That was the top of my head for no apparent reason. We're definitely still in a very strong position league-wide. So who knows what's coming in the future? And we have so many active people right now, so many people on the rise right now, so many, like, even to the point of third generation players right now. It's very, very, very up in the air. Been a lot of parity, which is awesome. Anytime you can go into a season and you don't quite know what's going to happen, it's probably the best we can possibly hope for in the league. Because it's sort of boring when you know, oh, it's going to be X team versus X team, and that's the only result that's going to happen. Yeah, that's not why we're here. We're here for the fun, the chaos, and the possibilities, and our teams being on the way up. And so I'm pretty glad with where we are as a league right now. And in terms of, you can go through the season predictions right now and find all sorts of different combos. Okay, that happened off screen. I don't know if you can hear it, but that happened off screen. So it's pretty exciting. Beyond that, for those of you who don't know and didn't pick up the 14,000 clues, I did retire and recreate this week, literally right after the draft. So Dick Wizardry will be playing out his last season in this upcoming season, and Awkward Sucks Joke got drafted to the Myrtle Beach Buccaneers in the DSFL, where I will be staying for one season and then moving up. We've still got pretty decent sized class and some people who've shown interest in sort of making their characters be created properly who haven't quite finished that yet, so that's a good thing too. We've got all sorts of shit going on, just in general. In the words of Sir Mokala, I thought this was America. I don't know what's going on in that conversation. Oh, okay, we're making fun of Baker Mayfield. Okay, yeah, alright. To be fair, he leaves himself open for it quite a bit. I'm gonna probably wrap that up. I'm not gonna try to stretch this out with a bunch more ums and ahs for another 15 minutes and hit full hour, but I think we did pretty good. Answered a lot of questions. A dog napped through it this time. She was on camera the first time and she saw herself on camera, and then the whole unplugged thing happened by accident. So you guys probably didn't see it, so you wanna come on and say hi? I know I can't explain to you that it got unplugged last time so we can see you, but they always like seeing you. She's sitting on like a, let's see here. Nope, that's the tree. There she is. She has this whole like setup over here when we put like a pillow and a blanket, and she just like chills here. That's her spot. And it's comfy as hell. And she's starting to appreciate it. There you go, I got you in there. The people will literally get mad at me if I don't get you on camera for at least 5 seconds. Since it's been over a minute since I said I was going to stop trying to stall for time, I'm going to stop trying to stall for time, and I'm going to bounce out of here and enjoy the rest of my evening with my family. I hope you all do the same with your families, friends, whatever you happen to have or want to spend time with. Enjoy the holiday again for those of you who celebrate it. We don't, but I don't make a big deal about it because, I'm not going to preach to you. But if you want to ask me about that, I'm more than willing to talk to you about it. Other than that, have a good weekend. Be safe out there. Go Myrtle Beach. Go Austin. My ear itches right now for no apparent reason. I've never looked crazier than right now. You guys have a great night. And I'm always searching for like a final line, but I don't have one. So, hey, look over there.